Hey, this is Wilson with GuestGrow.com, and welcome to the third installment of our video series where we're building an online website that can take orders from your customers so that you can save up to 27% margins versus using food delivery apps. Now, in previous videos, in the very first one, we worked on building the site. In the second video, the previous lesson, we worked on building the menu. We input all of our menu items. We put all our menu item options, add-ons, and upsells, and we displayed them on a page. Now, in this video, we're going to be working on the payments page. And not only are we going to be working on the payments page, we'll also be working on the transition from the menu page to the payments page. So for example, we want to make sure that the customer has a smooth transition after they finish adding all their menu items to their order, that they actually go to the payment page directly and they have the best experience on the payment page so that we can maximize the chances that they'll input their credit card and finish the order. All right, so I actually made a list of items that we need to do here, and most of this is based off of the Uber Eats and DoorDash websites that we analyzed in the very first video. So the very first thing we're going to do is use restaurant language. You might be wondering what this means, and sometimes the default buttons and default language on the website don't really adhere to restaurant language. For example, by default, the buttons say add to cart and they don't say add to order. So we'll be changing that. We're also going to simplify the order, simplify the menu to checkout flow. And so what this means is usually by default, WooCommerce has a step in between the menu and the checkout called the cart, where after you add your items, you look at your cart, then you go to the checkout. Uber Eats and DoorDash don't have that. They totally skip that. And the reason why, psychologically, is because when you reduce the amount of friction for the customer, meaning when you reduce the number of steps before checkout for the customer, you increase the chance that the customer will check out. Also, third here, we're going to redirect from shop to menu. So one thing that I observed when I built this for other restaurants was that when their cart was empty and they tried to go to checkout, it would send them back to a page that we didn't even build. And this page was actually by default built by WooCommerce. So we're actually going to redirect from that page back to our menu page because we don't want them looking at a page that we didn't build. We're also going to simplify the checkout fields. By default, WooCommerce shows all the shipping and billing fields, and we don't need any of that. I'm going to show you in a bit what that looks like and how we're going to clear it up. We're also going to add a date and time for pickup. As you saw on Uber Eats and DoorDash, there was a time to pick up now or later, depending on the restaurant's hours. We're also going to add tip. I don't think Uber Eats or DoorDash had tip, and we're going to be adding tip so that you can increase your average order value. And the very last thing we're going to do, very, very exciting, is we're going to test the payment. Make sure all of this works and actually input all of our menu items and finish up an order and get the receipts. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So your website should look like this right now, where there's your logo on the top left, a phone number, the menu, review and pay button, and an empty bag right here. There's also 3 tabbed items, or depending on your menu, however many categories you have is however many tabs you have. And each of these tabs have corresponding menu items to the menu category. Okay, so right now what we're going to do, as you can see, the very first step, this button says select options. And that actually does sound very restaurant-like, but one thing that we can change it to is customize options, maybe, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install a plugin. So we're going to log in to the WP, to the WordPress dashboard. Might have forgotten the password here. Just kidding, I got it. Okay, cool. And so the plugin we want to look for, we go to on the left here, we hover over plugins, then we click on add new. And the one we want to look for actually does a couple of things for us. It's called direct checkout. So in this field on the top right, you type in direct checkout. And we want this one by PI Web Solution with an orange icon as their picture. Okay, so over here, let's click on install now. And then let's click on activate. Now, once it's done activating, it's going to take you straight to the settings page. And the very first thing we're going to do is go to this add to cart tab right here. And this is what's going to let us change the setting from add to cart to add to order. Okay. Now, one thing that you may have noticed was that I'm going to go to our site right now just to show you an example. Is that so these are our default buttons right here, the select options. And when there aren't any options, it says add to cart. Okay. So we're going to use this plugin to change Any other menu items we have in the future that don't have any options and say add to cart, they're going to say add to order from now on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yours may not say add to order yet, so you just go ahead and type it in, and then you can save option. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to simplify the order flow, order to checkout flow. Okay, so like I said, for example, if you go ahead and select some options here, and you add this to the order, when you click on this bag over here, it actually takes you to the checkout page. And the reason why it's like that right now is because we turned the plugin on. But if we left the plugin off, then it would actually go to a cart page. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn off the setting in this plugin right now so I can show you what the default was like. I believe it's this basic setting right here, and it's this disable cart page. So I'm going to disable that just to show you what it looks like. I'm going to click on this bag one more time. And you can see here that now there's a step in between adding menu items and the checkout process, okay? So the customer actually has to go here first, and then they have to go proceed to checkout, and then they go to this page, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna totally skip that last page, and we're actually gonna make this area editable as well, so it's just as if they were on the cart page, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the WordPress dashboard. I'm gonna go ahead and enable disable cart page again, and I'm gonna go down and click on save option. Then I'm gonna go back to the website, and I'm gonna go back to see menu and test to see if this works. So if I click on this bag, it shouldn't take me to the cart, it should actually take me to the checkout page. And there you go, it takes me to the checkout page, all right? The next thing we're gonna do is redirect from shop to menu. So as I was saying before, after working with a couple of restaurants doing this, for example, I'm gonna go ahead and take out these menu items. If I try to go to the, checkout, it actually redirects me to this shop page, which is a default page made by WooCommerce, which shows all of your products, okay? It doesn't have it in the tabbed menu style that we have, which is this menu page that we made, okay? So what we want to do is, just in case any customers accidentally click on this bag when they have no items in their cart, we don't want them to see this page. And so one thing we can do is redirect the shop page back to the menu page, okay? And in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our WordPress dashboard. We're going to go back to plugins and add another plugin. So hover over plugins, click on add new. For keyword, we're going to type in the word redirection. And then it should be this very first one by John Godley. Let's go ahead and click on install now. And once it's done installing, we're going to go ahead and activate it. All right, so this one doesn't automatically take you to the settings, but the place you can find it, I believe, is under Tools or Settings. It's under Tools, and it's the very last option, Redirection. It's going to take you through a little bit of a setup. You don't have to worry about anything here. You can just go ahead and click on Start Setup, and you don't have to check any of these either. You can go ahead and click on Continue Setup. Then it's going to run this bar of testing the API, which is fine. Then you click on Finish Setup. And after this is finished, you click on Finished. So the way this plugin works, now that we're on the setting page, is that you can add a new redirection. And basically what it does, it tells you, hey, every time anyone reaches one of these pages that you specify, they're going to actually be redirected to another page that you specify, okay? Which is exactly what we want to do. We want to redirect everyone that goes to that shop page to go to the menu page, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click on Add New here. And so for source URL, we're going to go ahead and type in /shop/ because that represents the shop page, okay? And target URL is where this plugin is going to redirect them if anyone goes to the shop page. So I believe our target URL is the menu page. So I'm going to type /menu/ here. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on Add Redirect. Once that's done, I'm going to go back to my site to see if it worked. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh my site. Make sure I have 0 items in my bag. And when I click on it, I should come back to this menu page. I shouldn't go to the shop page. There you go. Okay, so the redirection actually ended up working. All right. The next thing we want to do is add date and time for pickup. All right. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and add items to the menu to show you what our checkout page looks like. currently by default, it doesn't come with a date and time option, which your customer would need because they want to pick up the order. They want to pick up for a certain date and time. Okay. And this is very, very useful because you're going to keep this site up 24/7. Anyone can access it anytime, but they can only place an order within the hours that you specify. Okay. So now that I have one menu item in the bag, I'm going to go ahead and go to checkout. And as you can see here, there's a bunch of fields here. Like I was saying before, they ask you for all of your billing and shipping information, which we don't need in order to finish the transaction. So we're going to take all of that out. But some fields that we do need that aren't here are the date and time. Okay. And there is a good thing. There is a free plugin that helps us do that. So on the very left, we're going to hover over plugins again. Then I'm going to click on add new. And under the keyword, we're going to search for Woo, W-O-O, and then the acronym ODT, which I believe stands for order delivery time. Okay, and it's going to be this one by console. You can go ahead and click on install now. And once it's done installing, click on activate. All right, so once you activate it, it doesn't take you to the settings automatically. We have to look for it. And so when you go to the left panel on the very bottom, it should say order delivery time management. So we can click on the settings by clicking on it, or we can go to the settings by clicking on this very first option when you hover over. And now it's going to ask you for a bunch of options. Okay, so it's going to say, do you want to allow orders for delivery, pickup, or both? Okay, if you have drivers, then you can do both. Most places that I'm doing this for, they don't have drivers. They're using Uber Eats or DoorDash for that, but they want to do pickup on their own site because they want to save that 25%, right? They don't want Uber Eats and DoorDash to eat up their margins for orders that they can already fulfill themselves. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on pickup here. Pre-order days, I believe by default is set to 10, but I always put 1. You can't put 0. So usually if you put 1 here, that means the customer can order for today or tomorrow, okay? Respective to the day that they're actually on your site. You want to make sure this time field validation is checked. You also want to make sure this ask for time checkbox is checked. And then here in the pickup hours is you put your daily hours, okay? And one thing you might notice here is that it only gives you one set of hours to set. Meaning if you have different hours for different days, then you can't do this with a free version of the plugin, okay? In order to do different hours for different days, you actually have to go get the pro version over here, which I believe costs $85. And so what you can do is you don't really have to start with your full hours. You can see if this works out for you, if you like the operations behind it. Most of my restaurants do, it comes in on a tablet or any device they want. So you can test it out for any amount of hours that you want, that you're open. This dessert place that I'm working with, they want it for their full hours, which are 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it as is. Then they have a bunch of text that you can actually edit, okay? And so before changing any of it, I'm actually gonna go down and click on Save Changes. And then we're gonna go and see what the checkout page looks like so that we can see where this text actually is in respect to the fields, okay? So I'm gonna go all the way down and click on Save Changes. Then I'm gonna go back to the checkout page, which I already had open, and I'm gonna refresh this checkout page. All right, so now you can see that there's actually a date and time, okay? And so it says choose your order type, pickup. Delivery doesn't show because we didn't check delivery, all right? And it says choose today or tomorrow. I believe I already changed this. By default, it says please just choose a date, okay? And I put today or tomorrow because people have to know that, it's only today or tomorrow that they can order. And I don't want them to choose tomorrow if they meant today. We've actually gotten a lot of orders where customers choose the day after and say it was a mistake, okay? So I like to clarify today or tomorrow. Then in this one, you can put select the time. And usually for some of my restaurants, they like to request, like for example, for this to be pushed out at least 45 minutes because they can't get an order done within 45 minutes. So what you can do here, by default, you actually can't change, you actually can't push the times out 45 minutes at the very least. So you can just put a notice here where it says select the time, there may be delays based on demand, and please choose a time at least 45 minutes from now, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Let's go back to the settings. And let's find where that text was, okay? So I'm gonna go back and flash to where what this text said. Select the time, there may be delays based on demand. And it's right here, this very last one, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and add, select the time, at least 45 minutes from now. And then all this other text seemed fine to me. You can edit it based on how your restaurant operates and how your team, what your team feels most comfortable with. But I believe this is what the client wanted from me, so I'm going to keep it this way. I'm going to click on Save Changes. Then when I go back to checkout, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. And now it says select the time at least 45 minutes from now. Okay. And you just have to trust your customer that it's going to happen. All right. All right. So now that we have a date and time, our checkout page is actually looking pretty good. But I believe the next thing we want to do is remove a bunch of these fields that we don't need. Again, these are extra steps that the customer they're being forced to take right now. And it actually is increasing their friction to checkout. We want to reduce as much friction as possible by removing these fields, which we don't even need in the order. All right. And so, yeah, that's the next one, is to simplify the checkout fields. Sorry for my spelling on these simply versus simplify. All right. So in order to simplify the checkout fields, we're going to go ahead and activate another plugin, extend the functionality of your website. That's what I love about WordPress. They have a bunch of free plugins that can do a bunch of things for you. And I'm so glad that there are plugins that are great for the restaurant industry. So after going to plugins and add new, we're going to go to the top right and click on search plugins. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in checkout field manager. Okay. Now, I spent hours and hours and hours going through all of these plugins. Okay. There's so many different checkout field managers. And the one that is the best is the one by Quad Layers right here. Okay. The reason why I say that, I mean, I don't really want to get into it, but they literally have a one button on or off for the field. Whereas these other ones, it's like you have to check a box and then press OK and then do another step. Literally like 5 clicks in order to just remove or add a field. Okay. So I'm going to install this checkout manager for WooCommerce. Make sure it's the one by Quad Layers. I'm going to click on install now. And once it's installed, I'm going to click on activate. All right. And it doesn't take you to the settings page, but I remember the way to get there is you actually hover over WooCommerce. Then you click on checkout right here. There's a little checkout link when you hover over WooCommerce. And that should take you to the page where you can manage all the fields. Okay. So as you can see here, there's tabs, but there's also little links under here. So notice that. And you can go to the billing fields by clicking on this billing link. Waiting for it to load. Okay. So now you can see that, so I think I had this plugin on before, and it had all these fields actually activated. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save changes as if it were default. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the checkout page. Okay. And so what are the things that we want to take out? Okay. So company name, that's totally up to you. If you still get corporate orders, then I would definitely leave this on. Okay. But street address, town, city, state, zip, we don't need any of that. Phone number we definitely do need, just in case that we want to call the customer to follow up on their order, or if we have any questions about the customer's order. And email address, of course, we want to save not only to communicate with the customer, but we're going to build our email list with this as well. Okay, it's going to be big. We're going to be building a great, huge audience digitally for you. All right. So we're going to go back to the settings, and we're going to turn off everything that has to do with address, basically. All right. So we're going to go country. So there's this disabled column right here. And then everything that has to do with address, we're going to go ahead and make sure it's ticked purple. All right, so country off, billing address off, city, state, postcode. Okay. The last two are phone and email, which we were saying earlier that we really want about the customer. So after those are all ticked, then we can go ahead and click on Save Changes. All right. And let's go back to our checkout page to double check our work and see what happened here. All right, so this checkout page looks a lot easier to fill out now, right? It's just first name, last name, company name. Again, totally up to you if you want to leave that. I left it. A phone, email address, and just order notes. Whereas before it was like an address and so many different fields to fill out, right? And plus, it doesn't look as cluttered, which means it doesn't look as intimidating to the customer. All right, so those fields are done. And so what we want to do next is add a tip. All right, so we're gonna extend the functionality of your website again by adding a tip. And we're going to hover over plugins, click on add new. And honestly, this took me hours. Actually, this took me days. And I actually stumbled upon this plugin. It's no longer supported with the current version of WordPress, but it still works. Okay. And literally, it's increasing the average order value. A lot of people are leaving like $20 to $30 tips. at some of my restaurants per order. So I highly recommend that you put this in. I believe it's called WooCommerce tip/donation. So I would search those exact words. And it is this one with the piggy bank. Well, really cool though. It had no reviews before and now has one review. I might leave one myself. Okay, so you install and activate. Okay, and let's go ahead and see what it did to our checkout page. Okay, so our checkout page just has, you know, information, date, time. It has our products, but it doesn't have any tip anywhere. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and refresh this. And now everything looks the same. Everything looks the same. Okay, so there's nothing here, and I wonder why. So let's go to settings and then see what's going on. Okay, I believe from here that we can go to WooCommerce, and then now here's a tip donation settings area. Okay, and the reason why it wasn't on is because we actually didn't have the enable thing check marked. Okay, so let's go ahead and enable it. And for display fields, it says only cart page. We're going to change that because we don't have a cart page anymore, and so we want to change it to only checkout page. Okay, and the cart page position doesn't matter because we're not showing it on the cart page. And for the checkout page position, we can actually choose anywhere to put it. Usually, I believe, like for example, in a restaurant, if you actually were to give tip, you give it like below this tax and total area. Okay, and I think that's exactly where this is right now. So let's leave that by default. And let's go ahead and click on Save Changes and see where we are. Okay, I'm going to refresh this page and see if it showed up there exactly where we wanted it to be. All right, cool. So it's a little bit ambiguous though, right? Because there's a field and you can click on add. So for example, if I type 1, click on add. Okay, so $1 fee. Okay, that's interesting. We need some way to change this text, and we need this to be a little bit more prominent, right? Like our brand color is purple, first of all, and we don't really have any blue anywhere except these credit cards. So we want to probably change this to purple so it stands out to the customer. Okay, so let's go here. I think for button label, it says add. So instead of add, I'm gonna put add tip. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and click on Save Changes and then see what that did there. Add tip, great. Okay, go back to the settings and let's see what happens here. Fee title. So before I believe it said fee. We're gonna go ahead and type in a tip now. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and click on Save Settings. Let's see what happens now. All right, so you see that the fee actually changed the tip. That's good. Okay, let's see what else we can do. I believe at the very bottom here, we can actually do predefined amounts. That's good. Let's go ahead and enable that. And usually for predefined amounts, what I like to do is I like to measure what the average order value or ticket price is for the restaurant. For example, if it's $20, then I do a 10, 15, 18% of that, or whatever 3% you usually use most for your restaurant. Okay. So this dessert place, usually it's like a 10 to maybe $30 order max. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna do 10%, 12%, 15% since it's a dessert place. And so based off that, what you do is you type in a number, comma space, the next number, comma space. I would usually only add 3 of them. Okay. So let's see. I said usually it's $10 to $30. We're gonna do 10%. So it's like $3. And let's just do like 5 and 7, okay? Just to make it even. Click on Save Settings. And let's see where that brings us now. Cool. Okay, so there's little things right here, but it's still a little ambiguous that like what these buttons do, right? I think there should be something here that says like add $3, add $5, add $7. But the cool thing here is that like when you click on these buttons, it automatically updates the tip. All right. I think there is like a fee message here, for example, that we can click on like add tip. Or choose, or let's do this, okay? Because you can select a tip and you can also type in your tip, okay? So you can put select or type tip with a colon, okay? And I'm gonna click on Save Settings. Let's go ahead and refresh this. All right, there you go. So this is a lot less ambiguous. I know exactly what I'm doing here. I'm reviewing my order and now I get to select or type my tip, okay? That's very, very good. Let's see if there's anything else. Is taxable? No, usually tip is not taxable. And default amount, okay, you can actually put a default amount here. So if I put 3, then that field should automatically populate to 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on Save Changes, go back to checkout, I'm gonna refresh it, and now it says 3, cool. And the customer can just erase it if they don't wanna leave it, okay? But this should increase your average order value and really drive your bottom line, okay? And help your employees out as well. All right. So now that that part is done, what we can do is there's one more thing that we want to do is we actually want to add editing to this checkout page area. Okay, so we want to make sure to that we can select the quantity here and that we can remove the item here as well. So there is another plugin that does this. So let's go back to our WordPress dashboard, and then under plugins, let's go to add new. And then for the search plugins, let's do a checkout field editor, I think. No, let's go down because that might not have been the right keyword, but I know it's here somewhere because last time I searched checkout and it was here. Checkout. Let's do checkout remove item. Where is this plugin? Okay, I'm just gonna search checkout because I know it's there. It's by this guy named like Bavik Curie or something like that. Wow, did they move it? Or am I just blind? All right, I found it. It was on the very first page. When I searched checkout, I just passed by it. It's this change quantity on checkout for WooCommerce by Bavik Curie. And once we're there, click on install now. And as usual, once it's done, click on activate. And I don't think there's any settings we need to change, but let's just double check. I'm gonna go ahead and refresh this checkout page and see if it's there, and it is. Cool. So what you can do here is you can just make the edit straight in here, and the whole thing will update. Okay, you can change it to like 6 if you even want to, and it'll update the total. Then you can remove the whole thing, and since we only have one item, it'll just kick us out. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Cool, so we got that done, and I think that's it for checkout actually. Our checkout experience is pretty good now. Let's go ahead and try to add an item, and let's do a test run. So let's add this to order. Okay, so the way you do a test run is on the checkout page, obviously you have to fill out all of your information. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill some stuff out. That's fine, that's fine. One thing that concerns me a little bit is that the shipping says flat rate when it should say local pickup. So maybe we didn't set that up yet, but let's go ahead and make a test transaction. You can make it, just make sure your Stripe is in test mode. You know it's in test mode if it says test mode right here, and it gives you the test credit card number. So I just do 4242 all the way, 424 for the expiry, and 424 for the code. And let's place the order. Let's see what happens. Okay, looks like it worked. But there's one thing that says there has been a critical error on your website, which means that usually this means that there's something wrong with one of the plugins. And so we have to go back and troubleshoot real quick. Actually, what I'm going to do is I know which plugin it is. I think it's the add tip plugin because it's no longer supported. But I'm going to go ahead and ask one of my WordPress pros how to fix a plugin. Okay, so I'm going to release another video on that to fix this for you. And we do want to go back and make sure that that shipping does say local pickup. So just in case, let's go back to our WordPress dashboard. And then let's go to WooCommerce and settings. Okay, then we can go to shipping here. All right, so you see how it says we had a local thing here, I believe. And so if you don't have one already, then you can go ahead and click on add shipping zone. And then you can name yours local. And then you can put like your state, for example. Okay. And then once you do, here, I'm just going to go ahead and do it with you. California. You can add a shipping method. Usually you can change this to local pickup, and you can add the shipping method. Okay. And you can, I believe I'm able to save this shipping method. Maybe not because I already have it, but this should be lit up for you, and you can save the change. You go back to your shipping zones. And so what you're supposed to do is you can drag it so that there's priority. Okay, so if someone is in California, then they'll get this in-store pickup first before they get this flat rate. Even though they're in California and the United States, they'll still get this California one first. Okay, so I'm gonna go back, and add an item again and check to see if it says local pickup. There we go. It says in-store pickup. Okay, so we're good to go. And we can probably do one more test transaction just to make sure that this works. Okay, and after I make this test transaction, I should actually get an email saying that the store received my order. And plus there should be, if I have access to the store's email, they should get an email saying that a new order came in as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and look out for that. And it looks like I did get both emails. I can show you my email right here. Okay, so this is the order received. Okay. And then this is the new order sent to the store or the store manager, whoever is at the place right now, so that they can get this ready. Okay. And so what happens there is, it happens just like DoorDash and Uber Eats, where you have a tablet from them. And once you receive an order on the tablet, then you can just input it into your POS and mark it as paid. So same as this, you'll get email notifications and you'll also get access to the dashboard with all of your orders. If you don't remember how to get there, it's under WooCommerce and orders. And then you can look into these orders, and whatever they ordered, you can put it into your POS as well. Okay. So that's it actually for our checkout page. So we did all of these, and it looks like we finished our payment page. So in the next one, what we're going to work on is online order notifications. Very, very similar to what I just showed you, the email that goes to the store that tells them that a new order has come in, and the emails that go to the customers saying that the order has been received by the store. And we're going to go a little bit further to make sure that there's also emails going out to the customer when the order is ready for them to pick up. And we might do some other communication as well. Okay. So our next to-do list is going to look something like this, where we have the platform completed, the menu page completed, the payment page completed, and now we're going to do these order received, order ready, new order, canceled order, and other types of notifications in the next lesson. All right, so I'll see you there.